In the name of the Father, and the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Again, it's lovely to always have Magdy with us. And today he will speak about the balanced approach to life. It's always intriguing. I always look forward to hear what Magdy has to say and how he's going to say it. Okay, which is always interesting. Thank you so much for being with us, Magdy. May God give you a word of wisdom. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen.
Hi, everybody. Very nice to be back here with you this evening. It's always a blessing for me to come back to St. March. Greetings from Brampton, which is where I live. So happy to be here tonight. And I had this song playing. I don't know if any of you could hear it or not, but it was 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. There's a collection of songs called Verses. Have you heard this? Hanan, my wife, came across this on the Holy Bible app that we pray from every day. And there's a lot of songs there. They're all under the title of Verses. You can find them on the on Apple Music. And they're just based on a few verses from the Bible. So this one, of course, about love is patient and kind and enduring and persevering and so on. We all know the verses very well. And so I thought I would play it a little bit for you just to tune our minds a little bit for this evening. So, all right. So tonight we're going to talk about a balanced approach to life. Let's see if this works at all. Hold on. Okay. Second, sorry. I had this all queued up properly, and now is it not advancing? Sorry, I'm not sure why I'm not advancing properly here. Yeah, I'm just going to go out and back in. My mouse seems to have gone strange. Let's try that. I'm not sure what's happening here. My presentation has frozen. It's the teacher's nightmare, right? Just when you had it all set up, and I'm trying to even force close it. I can't get it closed. Let's see.
It's all working. Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. Try to close on.
Yeah, we'll just balance.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, let's try that again.
If we just try to connect this one,
just do this.
Yeah.
For the teamwork, right in my wrong.
The one straight balance is all about.
That's the lesson.
why don't we just try to like close it and just open it again?
The whole thing up here?
Yeah.
That's enough. I just run through all the slides.
Don't give
Oh,
it to the. No, is it a screen?
and then balancing life.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I think might happen? It might be your mouse.
Sorry?
It might be the mouse.
It might be the mouse.
Yeah,
Let me take the mouse off. Let's see.
it's up there.
Okay, let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. But I lost some slides here. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna close it up. Sorry, everybody. I'm really sorry about this. I'm gonna do this all over again. That's because I was too busy talking.
Actually, that's a good example, Ashin. Every time you think we're doing a balance.
There we go. There we go. All right, let's see if this is the right way here. This is
Was
the
this like a
wrong-
previous version?
Yeah, this is not the right version. No, I need a different version.
I usually, when I was younger, I used to.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, so I had it wrong. Okay. I think it says reverted to. Okay. We're gonna just gonna fix it right here. I don't know why it has changed. Okay.
But that one is right. Because in case you want to go back to the previous version, there's also.
Yeah, no, I think this is, let's see, I think
No, not it's.
this is okay.
Oh, yeah.
Um, no, you know what? Sorry, can you come back? Sorry. You said I can go back to give me the history, sorry, because yeah, it's still not the exact one.
I wonder if you had this
This would have been from 2 days ago.
2 days ago, so would that be the, like, let's
Yeah.
just try all the versions. and
Yeah,
see.
that's the,
That's the one?
that's the one.
Great.
Thank you.
How are you? I want to go to the washroom, but like.
Yes, that one.
Well, then, and it'll keep it open, then.
Oh, wow. Seven pop?
Okay, my apologies. I don't know what happened there. I made a small adjustment just before the meeting. And then, I don't know, something strange happened. I should have run through it after I made the adjustment, but I'm retired, so that's my excuse. I don't know how to teach anymore. So, anyways, thank you for your patience. Tonight I want to talk about something. I had this actually on my mind already from the last time that I was here with you back in the winter. But we went on to a different topic that night. So I want to talk a little bit about a balanced life. And then Mariam shared with me the recording from last meeting when you were talking about why is this so frustrating, right? The relationship with God. And I thought, oh, this kind of just is a perfect fit together with what I was hoping to talk a little bit about tonight. So as always, God has his ways to kind of, make things work. So I hope I can do that justice. So let me just grab my mouse so I don't have to bend down here all the time. And all right. Come on. Okay. So let's go back a little bit to your last meeting. And from what Miriam told me about, the topic was something like, why is this so frustrating? Is that right? Yeah. And that is our relationship with God and how important we all know that relationship is, but how we stumble often with that relationship and we get tempted to want to do things that are outside of the relationship that God would like to have to us, which is a nice way of saying we sin a lot and we get tempted a lot in different ways. So tonight, what I want to propose is there's so many different ways to look at our relationship with God. And so might we try to look at this in yet another way and see if we can keep wrestling with this topic. Often, I remember this all the way back to when I was in the youth group many, many years ago. We always used to talk about how We have our day-to-day life, or our work life, or our school life, or whatever life, and we also have our spiritual life. And I remember this as a teenager, and we used to talk like this, and we used to talk about sort of compartmentalizing our lives. And we all love graphs, and we all love spreadsheets, and we all love to be organized and put something on Monday the 23rd and something on Friday the 2nd of the next month, and we like to get everything sort of laid out like that. And what I want to suggest today is that let's start that usual way, which is to sort of compartmentalize things, partition things. But then how can we unify that under God, with God, for God, so that what we end up with is a day-long relationship with God through all the things that we do. So that's kind of what I'd like to take a look at today. So take a look at this. I have a handout for you that you can do your own personalized balanced life graphic. Would you like to do that? Yes. All right. I'm going to ask Meta maybe to hand these out. And courtesy of Hanan, my wife, who personally sharpened a lot of these pencils.
One happening here.
Sorry?
One day we want to have her here.
She's very shy in meetings and things like that, and a few pens, but you might want to take the pencils first because there's erasers and you're probably going to erase as you go. Yeah. Of course, you're going to get marked. There's an evaluation, sorry, an assessment. Give you feedback. We're not going to give you marks. Was there enough? I hope. More than enough. Okay. So, as you see, you've got a circle here that's divided into 4 quadrants, and each quadrant has a number of arrows coming through it, as you see here. And we're going to try to fill this out as we go. And I'm going to go through and give you some suggestions, but I want you to create your own quadrant here of 4 main areas of our lives and personalize it to yourselves with what you put at the end of these arrows. I'll talk a little bit as I show some of the stuff that I've used before. You can use the same titles if they pertain to you, or you can do your own, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with it. So first off, one of the main quadrants that we have in our lives, and just because these are all 1/4 doesn't mean we're necessarily balanced and spending 1/4 in each time. We'll talk about time a bit later. But work is one of the places where we're at. Right? And we spend a lot of time at work. And in work, that could be school, it could be a job, it could be caregiving for someone, whatever it is that we do where we're, giving that energy and doing that work. So if you work, if you're in school, you might want to put that at the one of the area. That's one area that we have. Another one, when we do that work, how do we do it? And one of the things that we should do as Christians is we do things with good commitment, perseverance, dedication, all of these things. So think about how you go about school, how you go about work, how you go about if you're working at home, if you're caring for family members, all of these things. How do you go about that? Put these words down and think about them, and then we'll talk a bit more again after. Thirdly, when you do your work, what drives you? Why are you doing that work? What's your attitude when you do that work? Okay? I think most of us don't just wake up in the morning, we drag ourselves out, go to work, go to school, whatever, and then do our blah, 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 and then go back home and that's it. Hopefully not.
That is not what
Hopefully not. Okay? All right. But think, what is your attitude with doing that?
money.
What is your drive? Okay, so write that down. Write that down. Put a dollar sign if that's what is your motivation. Okay?
Mortgage bills.
Mortgage bills. So put that down. Good. Okay. So, and anything else that you think is work related, put a few more arrows if you want for yourselves, and then we're going to let you analyze that after. A second big area of our lives is, of course, family. Okay? And so family is very, very important. In families, hopefully, what we do is we help and we support each other. Whether we are in a relationship, in a marriage, just a couple without children yet, children, or we have parents, or we are children of parents, or we are looking after parents, or we are grandparents. All the different ways up and down the generation. Think about your large family, cousins, uncles, and aunts, and so on. How do we help and support? Think about that. Next, just taking care of your place. Washing the dishes, vacuuming, tidying up. In my case, I like to eat my breakfast at the coffee table while I watch the sports highlights before I go out to teach. And then my wife complains that I'm leaving crumbs behind. So I have to be very careful to leave crumbs behind and clean up after myself and not just put everything on the counter so that she has to clean up when she wakes up. And so think about taking care of the home. Are there repairs to be done? Garbage taken out? All of these things. Love. In a family, what does that love look like? Think about how that looks like in your family. And I don't mean love only as a noun, but love as a verb. Okay? Love works both ways, right? And there's the notion of love, and there's the doing, how we do our life with love. And that's something we can think about, because even in our families, sometimes we do things just in a mechanical kind of way to get it done. And okay, and then I know on my way, just okay, fine, I'll do this and then leave me alone. Is there love in what we do? So make yourself some little notes. A fourth quadrant is community. And we all are so blessed that we belong to this community as a major community that we are a part of, which is the Coptic Orthodox community, and in your case here at St. Mark's. In my case too, but I'm more in Brampton than here, but my heart is always in St. Mark's as well. So think about your community. What community involvement do you have? What do your arrows look like in your case? For example, all here tonight, we're at church, so we can all have this as one of the arrows. What do we do in church? Are we serving in church? Are we participating in meetings? Are we contributing in different ways, different services for different people and so on? So what might that look like? In your school or in your workplace, how are you serving, or how are you giving to your community? Not just doing your job, but are there other things? So if you're a teacher, for example, are you helping to coach some sports teams, or are you working on this committee to help students or something? Are you these kinds of things? And we can see very quickly things are adding up of all the things that we do in our lives. In your neighborhood, maybe you have that in our neighborhood. Our daughter, when they moved into their new neighborhood a few years ago, now they've moved to another place. They live out in Whitby. There were a lot of new families, and so they would have street gatherings, and everybody brings a dish and get together and so on. Or some people are involved with other kinds of activities to improve their communities and things like that in the neighborhood. Maybe there's a fundraising campaign going on for a playground for the kids or stuff like that. So if you have something like that, put it there. We have one quadrant left. What do you think is in that fourth quadrant?
Spiritual self, spiritual
Spiritual self. Which one? Spiritual?
thought.
God?
It should be the whole thing.
God is the whole.
Yeah.
God is the whole thing?
It should be the whole thing.
You guys feel where this is going?
That is in the center.
Yeah, I heard somebody say the word actually. It's the other word that starts with S, and it is self. It is self. Sometimes we are so busy doing so many things that we forget ourselves. So when you're on an airplane, we were on an airplane recently, and you know the flight attendant gets up there and gives you the safety talk, right? The one that we never listen to because we're already looking at what movies we want to watch, right? So she gives a safety talk, and if you pay attention when she's talking, it's usually a woman, but or could be him as well. When they explain about the oxygen mask coming in, what's the thing they tell you to do? Put yours on first. But no, my kid needs it, and my kids might need oxygen. Why yourself first? So if you can't breathe, you can't help anybody. So that's an extreme example, and hopefully none of us will ever experience that example. But the point is, you have to nourish yourself if you're going to be able to do any of these things. So how do we nourish ourselves? Back to this table. What we're talking about? How do we nourish ourselves?
Spiritually.
Spiritually. Okay, very good. All right. Oh, I put leisure first.
And 13. Yes.
So we have leisure. Okay, I'm going to put them all three here because they're all different ones. Okay. Leisure, growth, rest. Wow, I didn't say spiritual.
Growth should be spiritual.
Growth should be spiritual. Rest should be spiritual. Sleeping in is spiritual, is what you're saying? Leisure. Okay. We have to look after ourselves. Health, physical health, mental health, all of this, and of course, the spiritual. But I haven't put spiritual in here for a particular reason. These are things that often we look at as, I need time now to have vacation. I need time now to do this. I need to go and play hockey. I need to watch this movie. I need to sleep. I need to whatever. Because if I don't, I'm going to, like this. This is where we have to be careful, because some people spend a lot of time in this area, and now, of course, these days we hear this new expression, self-love, self-care. You heard this stuff, right? Which is really just all about feeding your ego. It's not about loving yourself. It's about being in love with yourself, right? So I'll just go and sit there and post stuff for an hour about how good I looked on the beach and stuff like that. No, this is about the inner self, the spiritual self, the spiritual being. All of these things and these things are going to contribute to that. And that's why at the center of this graphic, I want you to put a cross. Because I was trying to lead you into a trap of what I was in for many years when I was young. That there's my spiritual life and then there's my everything else life. These are all things that we all do, more or less, right? But there has to be a binder, something that ties it together, which is God. Okay? Something has to pull it together. And so when you have a relationship with a person that you really love, talking human now, person you really love, you want to do all kinds of neat things for that person, right? You want them to, to be able to count on you, to rely on you, all these sorts of things. And so if they need something from you, you will do it. And even though you will go your ways in the morning, maybe the husband works here, the wife works there, in another place, still in your mind, you're thinking of each other. Yeah? And you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to stop off at home and get a little something, whatever. I'm already thinking what I'm going to make dinner for her tonight or whatever, or whatever it is. So you're thinking, and the other person's thinking about you. And that's a relationship that even though you're not physically with each other, there's a relationship because the actions you're taking, the things you're doing, you have each other in mind. Yes? Have we all experienced this kind of thing? We can have it with our parents. We can have it with somebody that we're in love with, like a mate. We can have it with kids. We have them in our minds. They may not know that I have them in their minds because they're not here. I can't tell them. They see the end result of that. God, on the other hand, our relationship with God, he knows what's in our minds. He knows what's in our hearts. And so the way we go about living is a relationship with him. And it's not just here, I'm going to slide in here for self. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go to church once a week or twice a week or 10 times a week. I'm going to pray 100 times a day. This kind of, that gets us compartmentalized. I want us to think that in all of these aspects, how is my relationship with God going in all of these things? So what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to go and take a look at, we're going to do a little bit of an assessment, a self-assessment, and I'm going to give you an activity and I'm going to ask you for some feedback. So take a look at what you've written down. Ask yourself, how did I make out, how balanced does my life feel? We haven't even put any time limits on there. Do you see yourself, I'm going to ask you some questions. Do you see yourself operating too much in one or two of those four areas? And then notice I haven't even mentioned phones, right? Because phones kills all of those areas, right? Okay.
I think phone falls in the self, but in the bad self.
In the bad self, yeah. But it also falls into work. And it also falls into family. I learned a new expression. Have you heard this expression? Have you heard this word phubbing? I was reading an article because I read lots of stuff about cell phones and how bad they are. I don't know, I'm a terrible person. I'm just looking for bad news. Phubbing. And it is the act of excluding your loved one, could be sitting right beside you, by burying yourself in your phone. That actually has a word now. New word. I don't know where the word comes from, but I read it in this article. Yeah. Phubbing. And it's what, and then you think about it, I said, oh my goodness, I think I just did this to my wife. She's talking and I'm saying, I'm looking at my phone, trying not to hear what she's saying to me. That's a terrible thing, right? So phones come into all of that stuff. But take a look where you might think there's some imbalance. Take a look at how busy your life is. Do you see some reasonable balance? Great. If not, think about where you might have better balance. And what resources can you create to maintain some balance in your life? So think about those questions. And now I want you to take a look at this again. At the end of each of these, I want you to make one more extension on each of the things that you wrote down on your own paper. And ask yourself, for example, I'll pick school, because I'm a teacher. At school, how is my relationship with God in school the way I go about being a teacher? I want you to ask that stuff, or in your job. For example, the kid count in my case, simple example, it's 3:15, the bell rings, ready, I want to get into my car soon because I got to drive all the way to Brampton. If I don't leave by 4 o'clock, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. And then the student comes to me and says, sir, can you give me some help? And, you know, if I could say, well, why didn't you ask in class? Or why didn't you come at lunch? Why didn't you come early in the morning? Or do I think somehow God has made this connection here? So I'm going to help this student now. And I'm going to give that student the help they need. And I'm going to do it because I'm thinking God would like me to do it. And just that small thing means that, am I working on my relationship with God? I'm not even working on it. I'm having the relationship. Because God has taught us so many things, right? He's taught us how to be. So when we are the way He'd like us to be, that's the relationship. Just like a father is proud of his daughter, his son, or mom's proud of her child when they do something the way they were taught and now they did it, and that builds the connection. So go through each one of these and ask yourself a question. Pick one particular thing, for example, drive or attitude toward work. So yes, I have to pay mortgage. I want to make money. But am I going to do more stuff with money there than just pay my rent or pay my mortgage? What else can I do with that? Or what else do I want? What other attitude do I have in that work? How do I work versus somebody who, doesn't really want to do the work? How's my heart in that?
But
And-
that's commitment and perseverance.
Okay, whatever. I mean, we don't have to play semantics, but yeah, exactly. But think about the way you approach the job. You approach it differently because you are a Christian. Does that change the way you do things? And if it does, you are again relating with God. Because you have God in your mind and saying, nope, I'm not going to go and jump ahead of this person because I think I'm better. I'm going to work hard. I'm not going to say, hey, look how awesome I am. I'm going to work quietly, work hard, and so on, because that's how I've been taught. Right? To be modest. God will be pleased with what I do. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm not going to go and show off or be aggressive or this kind of stuff. Right? So all of these things, it's a hard thing to do, but try to find an example. I'll give you about 5-10 minutes to go through a few of those. I'm going to ask you to share some. Okay. How does God work into that particular situation? Everybody understand where I'm getting at? Yeah? Okay. You can talk with each other too. I gave you a couple of examples. Really think, because you have more of a relationship with God than you think you have. Because you have him in your hearts all day. Think that through of where those moments are. Yes. Sorry. Oh, the question slide. Sure. That one? Yeah.
Oh, not judging. I just want to release all online. I don't know. Maybe it's something that I feel too frustrated because there's nothing I can do. Like there's nothing. Like there's nothing. I try to brainstorm.
But I feel I'm okay with this period.
Is this getting too late?
I want to give my best.
You're okay after?
Like I can be counsel.
Saying that
For some extent, trying this and this, but trying these words. Why I don't because I don't understand the vibes. Because I'm committed.
I was. Now I got it. She's like this. I feel so you can just and then let's take it out. Let's take it out. Look it out. And I think so it was the winter. They're wearing a sweater, but her house is hot. I still remember I'm on and I'm like spending like 20 minutes like trying to figure out like it's the easiest race to scene ever. Like thank God it's like it's not one that's it's one that's like fine. But I was like forget about it. I'm like I'm in here. I'm alive. I'm doing it. Alive. I don't have anything book that's I'm like, okay, let me get the hair up. No, hey, money. I get paid for but I was like, I remember I was just so hot and you know what like you're like doing something and all of a sudden it's not working but you feel frustrated and you just want to give it up like just give up for a couple seconds before like just trying to see it's supposed to be part no it's not supposed to be part it's literally
محتاج ستة اتليست.
ستة؟
يا ناس كتير جدا.
أنا اديت الناس كتير من اللي
لا في ناس دلوقتي جت.
It's all online. You don't have to like maybe you drive one. It's all med racks. It's all med racks. Like maybe one will be. I did. I'm all like you already like very it's surviving. It's not a bad company. I said it to I applied for study part-time job 8 hours. I think that trauma I don't know what trauma
Guys, for the new one, it's right on the, it's right there. I mean,
just look we have to go once a week. You made them but it's solemnity all for they all work from home. Everything is for me, just apply.
this was just my example, like and some examples. So yeah, you can use those for your own. I think
What they say is they need to apply. They also say French bilingual accent. Like you know that they say but it's not required to be. I got
Okay, can we take another 4 or 5 minutes? Because we don't want to get too late, and then we'll sort of pull it together.
I love self-love. I love self-care. I love self-care is so I don't love
Yes. Yeah, yeah. There's lots of things, so we do them because we have to. Yes.
The Bible God says, but I do think if I had the chance, I would do it. I would do it.
Okay, so that means that you're thinking. Thing that you're that's fine. But while you're in it, once you give it your commitment, give it your peace. It's not well, sometimes it just is, right? If you do it long term and you hate it, then that of course can be, right? But if you're doing it for a time, knowing that you're shooting for something that's like it's better, then that's fine. In the meantime, you do, because what a lot of people do, they just quit, they end up going nowhere. You are, at least you're giving the effort, which means you're gaining the experience and you're gaining the insight to move forward. It's just will come with time and you pray. Okay, everybody, can I ask you, we're gonna pull it back together here. I don't want to keep you guys too late. So, had some nice conversations with all of you as I came around. We're gonna try to sort of put it all together now and summarize a few things. And so you have your graphic in front of you, and I saw a lot of them that were quite full. And this is what you were doing at the tip of each arrow. You're writing down how this looks like in your relationship with God. So what I want to hear from you now is some of what you wrote down. And for those of you that might be a little bit too shy to reply, I have gifts for you. Oh, that was fast. Okay. All right. So we'll have a few examples. So tell us in which quadrant you're looking at and a specific example, and then how is the relationship with God working through that? Okay, go ahead. What's your name? Sorry? Mary. Okay, Mary, stand up loud, please.
So under the family quadrant, I renamed it relationships to include friends as well. So one of my arrows was loving my friends with family. And then my sub arrow was hosting dinner parties and showing people who are not post-Christian faith love and warmth and kindness in a remote area where I live.
Cool. Very nice. All right. Oh, yes. And thank you for participating. All right. You had your hand up. Yes.
Oh, yeah, but I was, hi, so, I'm kind of like a bit like shameful to admit this, but I feel like, the insight I've gained through this is that maybe like, God isn't that present in every aspect of my life as much as I thought he would be, or like I would, you know what I'm trying to get through.
Yeah.
For some areas, like, for example, for leisure, I wrote down like, playing video games, and sometimes it's like a real battle because you want to have leisure, but it's also, time for prayer. It's
Good.
Skim on things.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Honesty, very good. You're a brave person. Yeah, and what we want to do is we want to, this is not about, how good we are, how bad we are, anything like that. It's what are we striving for, right? And what are we becoming aware of about ourselves? Really, what we're doing is a large scale reflection on ourselves, right? And we're sharing a little bit. So thank you very much for sharing. Would you like a bookmark?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, anybody else would like to share? 2 bookmarks? Okay, yes, yeah, please.
We thought about general points, and not in a specific quadrant, but general points. Every quadrant have a lot of amazing points and we can reflect on it, but we thought about as a general thing, like having the time to think, meditate and, like the journaling, like just try to write down ideas and stuff because ideas that it's not on paper, probably it's not gonna come to real life. Like the term of quality and quantity, like quality when we are in any present in any of those quadrants, like spiritual, for example, at a liturgy, family gathering, when we are ourselves or community, try to maintain quality, as well as putting an investment in each one of them in a terms of a quantity, like putting a base. Like putting time, allocating good time to each and everyone, like and put a constraint so it's not one of the quadrants or taking big part of the other. Some sort of have the boundary. Like sometimes we take like a lot of time thinking and daydreaming about one of the quadrants, and we're not really acting. So we need to act more than think in any of those points. That's it.
Thank you. Would you like a bookmark?
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? We'll maybe take 1 or 2 more. If anybody else wants to share? Yes.
It's not something good. So in the workplace,
Can you speak up?
so in the community, in
stand
the workplace,
Point.
so in the community
Yeah.
workplace, I did some reflection and unfortunately, we do a lot of gossiping. So I do feel that there is no God in that situation. And it's hard because that's what we talk about. And at the same time, I know it's wrong. So question is, how do you get rid of it?
Yes, gossip in the workplace is a very common thing. I know as a teacher, it's a very common thing. You'd be surprised at what teachers might say in staff rooms or in offices. But we all know that it's not a good thing. It's not good, obviously, to the person that's being gossiped about. That's obvious. It's also not good for yourself too, because if I'm gossiping with gossipers, chances are
The gossiping about you.
other people in the building, in the organization, are going to find out what I may have said about somebody, right? So where God comes into this is, aside from, of course, the obvious, which is, oh, this is wrong, don't do it. But we can also make the attempt to redirect. Certainly we can try to not participate. Or we can participate in a way if they're saying, so-and-so, did you see what she did? She's such a whatever, and then you could come in and say, maybe she was having a tough day. Or I heard, that, she's going through a tough time right now. And, maybe we can be a little bit kinder or something. So you can come back with the counter to it. And that way you're bringing love into the equation as opposed to gossip, which generally doesn't have love attached.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I try that.
Yeah.
And let's say it's someone that did upset me. They gossip about it, and then I try to calm myself down, obviously. And then you end up falling into gossiping as well. Like it's like, this person's so bad, blah blah blah. No, let's let it go, let it go, let it go. And then suddenly you go like, yes, they were so bad, blah blah blah. And it's not easy when that person is because I'm a pharmacist, so if let's say a patient comes and they were not so nice and stuff like that, and you're dealing with that and you're like, okay, tarnish, and then at some point you go like, they're
boiling it. They're putting oil in it, and then you end up gossiping with them and just going like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think we should get too specific about all details like that, but just generally, um, if someone comes along, it's this case, like in your case, you see that person for a brief moment or a few minutes in your shop. You don't know all the other stuff that's been going on before that person came at your door. So you could make a million excuses for why that person happens to be that way that day. And chances are very much that it's not directed even at you. Sometimes we take offense at things because we think we are so important that that person is attacking me personally. They might just be venting or whatever. But this is a measure of me thinking I'm so big. Why is this person attacking me when it's not even about me? And we all say, it's not always about you. So fill in the name, right? And we have to check ourselves too in that respect. Yes.
sorry, this is the point of gossiping. We are one body in Christ. And so
Yes.
if I disrespect, say, the leg is now ill, it's hurt. You need that unity, right?
That's right.
I like gossiping, so I understand it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle and it happens right in the church, as we know, but this is something that each person has a role to play. At a bare minimum, we can extract ourselves from it and not participate. That we can do. So. Any others? Okay. What I was trying to get us to think about this evening was, let's take it back. What I was trying to get us to think about this evening and why I deliberately didn't put spiritual as one column, because yes, of course, it's important that we directly pay attention to our spiritual lives, and that's with worship, that's with prayer, that's with reading, that's with the sacraments in the church, all of that, yes. But our relationship with God can be much more broadened even, so that we don't fall into the trap of compartmentalizing it into a Sunday or into just at church. And I remember two things our beloved late Abuna Marcos taught us way back in the day. He taught us about spot prayers, where you can be riding on the subway and you see something, or your mind goes in a bad direction, and just a quick flash prayer. And to keep repeating that. And somebody else, I can't remember who once told me, said, look for crosses. Crosses are everywhere, right? If you look around here, there's like a million crosses on this wall formed by the lines of the grout in the brick. Okay? If you're at a dentist's office and you're feeling all this pain, look at the ceiling tiles. You can always find a cross to look at and focus you. Right? And there's some here on the floor even. And the other thing that Abuna Marcos taught us with the flash prayers or the spot prayers is that our relationship with God has to do with how we live our lives. And that is that we live a prayer as much as we say a prayer. Right? And the prayer that we live is the way that we relate with all the people that we deal with in all of these places. So in every one of these situations, every time we encounter something difficult and we say, God, help me here, it will change the way you will deal with that situation. And your relationship with God will grow more and more and more and more. And that was the whole point of this exercise. Beyond just seeing how busy our lives are, and that we have to make time for quiet reflection with God. But in all that we do, we can't just go out and for 9, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, we just go. And then we try to cram it into a 10-minute prayer at the end of the day, and we call that a relationship. It's not. The relationship is the relationship of love we have with everybody and how we are living as Christians in the world. in our family. So that's just something I'd like us all to think a little bit about. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. God.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Mhm. Mhm.